everyone. Welcome back. So glad that you could join us again as we continue with Books of the Month. We have a very special guest with us, Miss Jennifer Sherman. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Larry?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Do this for us. Look right there and tell our viewing audience who Jennifer is.
My name is author Jennifer Crenshaw. I am from Thompson, Georgia. I'm a 53-year-old mother of one and grandmother of 4.5 kids. I am currently writing a book series, and I am also finishing school, interim school, because I plan on going to law school in August of this year.
Okay, so you're going to be a lawyer.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. So now let's talk about this. The Day My Dad Came Home. The
Yes.
Day My Dad Came Home is a true story about a devoted daughter who invested all her time and energy to save her father from falling into a vicious trap. A woman who seemed like a harmless side chick to her father had ulterior motives and a hidden agenda.
Yeah.
Says here that Jennifer takes matters into her hands as she attempts to save her father from the desperate, mentally ill woman's evil-fueled fury.
Yes.
Just reading that captures you and draws you into this story. Talk to us about this.
The Day My Dad Came Home was a book series about how I actually saved my father from a woman that had motives to basically, she wanted to steal all of his money or take all of his money. She was mentally ill. She was someone he had seen about 30 years prior. So she came in the door saying that her daughter was his. That's how she actually lured him back into a relationship with her.
Okay.
But as it happened, things started happening. She started mistreating him and yelling and screaming at him, just like elder abuse, physically yelling, screaming, doing things, and people were noticing it. And my neighbor actually told me when I came home what was going on, and I got involved. But when I got involved, I didn't know that I was actually stepping into something like a bumblebee's nest.
Okay.
Because this woman was mentally ill, but at the same time, she was evil. So she was doing things to my father to control him. And because I stepped into it, she tried to harm me.
Okay. So we have a story. You're coming in. Your father's being emotionally, psychologically taken advantage of.
Well, he was being more than that.
Yeah, some other things there. And so you come in and there are some signs, there are some warning signs.
From neighbors.
Now, you're saying that this person is a person from the past
Yes.
who makes an accusation.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you find out these things, because it's very interesting and captivating, so there are some spiritual things connected.
Correct.
As long as some emotional and psychological things connected.
Right.
When you came in, what were the signs that made you aware that you needed to get deeper into this thing?
Well, my father he wasn't acting like his normal self. And as a child, you know your parents. And
Okay.
you know when they change. And my father was always this strong tower of a man, and he always held himself with a lot of respect, and he didn't take anything off of any woman. That's just the bottom line. But my dad, when I went to him about it, when I heard about it, and I went to him because I was shocked. He was like accepting of it, like it was okay, and that wasn't normal.
Okay.
And when he behaved like that, and he was basically saying, yeah, when I said, is she yelling at you and screaming so loud that you can hear it through the walls? He said, yes, it happens sometimes. My dad would never say something like that. And when he said that to me, I knew something was wrong with him, and I just kept watching. But I didn't physically find out what was going on with him or until probably a few months after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't physically find out until a few months after that.
But I had my suspicions of what was going on.
Talk to us about some of the red flags, and then that will give our viewing audience also an opportunity to recognize some of these red flags. What were some of the red flags that you recognized?
Some of the red flags for me mainly was the treatment of my father. That was the beginning. That was the biggest red flag because, like I said, my daddy, he taught us to be respectful, but also have respect for yourself. So if someone disrespects you or disrespects you in public or even outside of your own home, you're going to actually stand up for yourself, and he wasn't. So that was the first red flag.
Okay, so now you said the treatment. So am I hearing you correctly when you say he was allowing some things to take place and to happen that ordinarily he would not allow?
He was allowing a lot of things to happen
Yeah.
that normally wouldn't happen.
And those were red flags. So you said,
Ultimate
this
red
isn't my dad.
No, this is not my dad.
So there's something beneath the surface that's taking place
Yeah,
here.
something's going on. Another thing was there were different kinds of smells in the house. I talk about it in my book. In the front of the house, there was this, I call it the horrible musty must smell, because it smelled like it was some kind of oil that she was using, and it would make me sick every time I came in the house.
Ah.
And then in the back of the house, there was a dead animal smell. I talk about that in all my volumes too. And we couldn't figure out the odor in the back. We couldn't find out where something was dead at. So there were different odors in the house, and then all of a sudden she also wanted to use mothballs in our house.
Yeah.
And, you know, my dad was saying it was for rats. And I said, I've lived here 20-something years, and I haven't seen any rats. So why are we putting mothballs down? You know.
So you got all these red flags, all these things
There's a lot of
that are not normal.
Right.
There's a smell
There's a smell.
in the rear, there's a smell in the entrance.
Right.
And a lot of stuff going on in between.
And a lot of stuff going on in
So now, when you began to uncover and discover this stuff, what was the smell in the back? What did that come from? What did you discover?
Well, and I don't want to give it away, but actually we didn't find out what the smell in the back was for 3 years later.
Okay, so now, we want people to go out and buy this book. What would it give our viewing audience some nuggets that would inspire them to go out and purchase this book so that it can be a help to them? Look right there, give them a few nuggets.
The day my dad came home, some nuggets that I will give you that will make you want to read this book. My book is a self-help book to basically let you know what to look for when you have strange things going on that don't make sense in the natural sense. When you have things that are happening and like if your parent or your person or your cousin, your father, your mother, your sister, and your brother, if they begin to act differently or if they can't leave this person or anything, no matter what they try, they're going through a very toxic relationship and they keep going back to the source and they cannot leave that person. That person's doing God knows what to them. You're looking outside of the natural realm, you're looking in the spiritual realm. Because with me, a person that was raised and was not, raised to know what evil is. I was raised to help people and be nice and all that stuff. But when you are not raised to know what evil is and things start happening in the supernatural realm, you don't know what's going on. You think that what is going on is Twilight Zone, something's happening. I don't know. But you just look at that person and you know your people. And even if you don't know them, you know when someone is acting funny. Also be mindful of the person who's actually doing it. The person who's actually doing it may be a person that they're with and everything, and they may have a mask on. You don't know who they are, but they are really trying to hurt your people or trying to get something. And that's another thing that you need to look for. What's the motive? Now, this woman came into our life, back into our lives, into my father's lives, saying her daughter was his daughter. And that was the one thing that she did to get in the door, because my dad loves his kids. Once he determines that they are his kids, he loves all of his kids.
Wow.
But she actually did the money aspect and how she could benefit from it. And as you read my book, you will go through a daughter's selfless love for her father. When I actually stepped into this whole mess, and that's exactly what it was, I stepped into something where it was determined to kill me, one, to ruin my life, to completely destroy every relationship that I've ever had, to take everything from me simply because I loved my father.
Now let's stop right there for a moment. Initially, the attack is against your dad.
No.
Now you say the woman was manipulative.
Right.
And she came into his life with the accusation that her child
Right. Was his child.
was his child.
Yeah.
So that was against him.
Right.
Now, I'm hearing you standing. Now we're gonna look at this thing because now there's an attack against you.
Correct.
And so now you're looking at this thing from two perspectives.
Right.
Talk to our viewing audience and some flags that they might be mindful of how it changed and started to come against you because you stepped in to intercept what was taking place with your dad.
Okay. So actually the attack that actually happened towards me, it started prior to me moving home in 2018. It started in 2017.
Okay.
Because in 2017, I was going back and forth visiting my father from Atlanta, and I was sleeping in one of his beds.
So where were you? Okay, so you were traveling back and forth.
I lived in Atlanta.
Okay, you were in Atlanta.
I was in Atlanta.
And your dad was in?
My dad was in Thompson.
Okay, Thompson and Atlanta. Okay.
So I lived in Atlanta, and I was just becoming home.
Okay.
So I came home, and something, from what I understand, a lot of this information that I'm finding out is after all this happened.
Okay.
But from what I understand, something was placed in my bed, and I was bound to my bed for 7 days.
Bedridden.
I was bedridden. I couldn't do anything on my left side of my body. I couldn't move. I crawled a lot because I couldn't walk. I was in excruciating pain, and I had a bump in the middle of my back.
Okay.
I had the bump in the middle of my back since 2017. 2018, my daughter was the type of person that she liked to bust bumps. And she was actually, every time she saw me or my back was out, I had on a tank top, she would try to bust the bump in my back, in the center of my back.
Okay.
And one day in particular, she burst the bump and a piece of wood came out.
Came out of the bump. A piece
Out
of
of
wood.
my back. Yes.
Okay.
And that's what alerted me to go to the doctor and see what was going on. And when they did the surgery, they found it wasn't a normal cyst. It was like a snake-like figure, and it was headed towards my rib cage. So that definitely got my attention.
Well, that would get your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So something was going on. So red flags, there's so many that you can look for, but the main thing with this lady here is she wanted my attention because I was kind of like the gatekeeper to the
Okay.
family.
Yeah.
So she wanted to earn my trust and she wanted to be my friend, and I refused because my dad had a female named Ma, who's the character in the book. She actually helped raise me.
Yes.
With him. So he had her, and he's been with her he had been with her like over 50 years.
Okay.
So I was Team Ma, and I say that in the book. I was Team Ma, so I didn't want anything to do with this woman because I had met her when I was a teenager, and I knew she was crazy.
Wow.
So I didn't want to be around her.
The day my dad came home.
Yes.
Unpack that for us. What to say? The day my dad came home. What was that defining moment?
The day my dad came home the title was actually because I wanted my father to come home because he couldn't sleep in his bed for about 2 years. And so my father, he finally came home. He came home when he left Side Chick. But the person that came home wasn't my dad. He still wasn't my dad. He wasn't the dad that left.
Okay.
So the goal was to get my dad home, to get him away from Side Chick.
Okay.
I got him away from Side Chick, but the one that came home, he still wasn't the same.
Okay.
Yes.
So physically,
He's
he's
home.
here.
Right.
Spiritually, emotionally, psychologically,
Mentally, yeah.
he's not here.
He's mentally, was all that you said. He's that person. He's
Yeah.
not that person. He's
Yeah.
not the person that I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm looking at two aspects. I'm looking at the physical dad, but then I'm looking at the spiritual, psychological, and emotional father, and I know that something's missing.
Correct.
What are some steps that I take to actually bring my dad home?
The only step that you can possibly take that I had to learn was you have to take God. God is the only one that's going to restore him.
Need to write that one down. The first step.
That's the first step.
We
Realize
need
that
to
God is the only
involve
one.
God in the whole situation.
Right. I had to learn that.
Okay.
And I say I had to learn that because, like I said, if you don't know about a situation, if you don't know anything about the spiritual world, then you're not going to know how to fight it. So what I did was I wanted a quick fix and a quick release. So I went to several people to try to get help to bring my dad home. But when I went to them, I got a temporary fix. I didn't get what I needed that's going to sustain me and keep my dad home. But when my life changed during my book tour in June 2022 in New Orleans, of all places, I was able to use God and to go to God and get God to help me. And my dad came home. But like I said, we're still working. He's a work in progress. But
Yeah.
he's still home.
Yeah.
His safety is more
But it was the
important.
spiritual component.
Yes.
When I actually got God involved in the entire situation.
Yes.
You know, there's something when we talk, if we want to look from a spiritual and biblical perspective, there's a way that seems right unto us, but the ends are up. Now we have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Disseminate, share with our viewing audience how they can, any website, email, anything like that you want to share with our viewing audience. Look right there and give them that
All
information.
right. You can actually order the volumes The Day My Dad Came Home 1 and 2 on securethebook.com. That's my website. That's where you can actually order the books. We also have new releases coming out. Next week we have volume 3, which is called Those Tables Turned. And That's next Saturday. It's going to launch. And then we have volume 4, Erased. That's going to launch on May 5th, 2024.
So there are 4 volumes.
There are 4 volumes so far, and we're slated for 8.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Ms. Jennifer has been our guest today. We want you to go out and purchase this book. Don't forget the information that she shared with you. Remember to join us again right here next month for Books of the Month. Optimum blessings to you.